Welcome to another episode here of Just Vibing. I'm Arnav Sarkar with my usual co-host of Sports Vibe Now, Andrew Rice. Of course, we also host the Bells Must Ring every week as well with the greatest in Rutgers. But yeah, this one's gonna be a little different. I really personally enjoy the Just Vibing series because it allows us to take a more um, you know, oh, Oh, that's all right. It allows us to take a more personal look on, just life and everything. Outside of sports, also just, kind of the paths that we both taken. And then just some miscellaneous, some fun topics. So of course, we also do get to mix in a lot of sports, as that's usually part of what we're all doing here. NBA free agency is going on, so we're gonna package that into this episode here of Just Vibing. But first of all, I guess how are you doing? I know July 4th weekend's coming up and everything. So what's going on in your life, I guess?
Well, being honest, this week we've been largely keeping it pretty mundane. Just kind of been working the 9 to 5, been putting in extra hours working for on the banks. I've already far and away exceeded my minimum articles for the
Oh
week.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh, so we're doing pretty good there. I got some plans with some friends, family, my girlfriend over uh, July 4th weekend. I guess weekend, but to us people with abnormal work schedules, there's not really much of a weekend. But yeah, just you know, I got some plans to see some fireworks eventually. Going on a hike tomorrow. I'm super excited for that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, that sounds pretty fun. Yeah, me and my family are actually headed up to Newport, Rhode Island tomorrow for something a little different. We usually do go to the Jersey Shore for fireworks. We're gonna go to Wildwood. We change it up, but I've been to Wildwood like a few times, so we might still go another day this summer, but gonna go a little bit farther out. And take a tour, see some fireworks at night. Should be a fun little weekend trip, I guess. But so yeah, other than that, yeah, same thing. I just got approved. Also getting paid now to write for On the Banks. I've written, I think, 3 articles this week. Yeah, I've been door dashing a little bit, just hanging in there. We just lost power at my house. There's a big storm passed through here. Didn't even know that was gonna happen. So I moved to my dad's house for this episode, but the show must go on. So we are still recording. So yeah, that pretty much catches me up. I'm excited about July 4th and everything too. It's always a fun time of the year, fun time of the summer. Yeah, Rutgers football is 2 months away. I wrote my game by game predictions article, which I've been wanting to do since I joined. So I'm really happy to get the first one of that out. And also the top 5 summer league games involving Rutgers stars is also on the site, which that's a fun one. And we actually do get summer league started tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Saturday, in Utah and California, like they do every year, and then the main one in Vegas the week after. So it's gonna be extra fun, especially for us, for Rutgers fans to see Dylan and Ace, for Nets fans to see their lineup in action, and Cooper Flag. Con Knipple. All these guys in action. It's always like a fun time. But this year, with the amount of star power in those lineups, and especially with the guys that we're familiar with, we're gonna have a vested interest in watching the Nets and Rutgers stars make their debuts. I'm sure we'll be covering it for On the Bank. So I'm really looking forward to all of that coming up within the next couple of weeks too.
Oh, for sure. And I guess I should, mention some of the content that I've been working on for the website as well. Um, I did an article about Rutgers' new deal with Nike. Um, One thing I went up to the Adidas spring cleaning sale that they
Yeah,
had up at SHI Stadium. It was a madhouse. There was there was people all over. There were just boxes and boxes of stuff. They're like, get rid of it, take it all. There was stuff everywhere. There was people everywhere, like picking
I
through.
heard it was super crowded. I saw some of the posts on Twitter and everything. It was like a madhouse. They didn't have enough registers, so
They
you know
only had 3.
that's crazy. And
Oh,
the stadium was like packed as usual, or not even wherever they were. Yeah, at the stadium, and
yeah.
the lines outside, like in the stadium, were because they have it like on the field, or did they have it like just in the concourse? Because I was seeing pictures from like in the concourse, like it was.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you know like the away side of the concourse, like where the away team's bench is, but like that area on the
Yeah,
main
yeah,
concourse?
yeah, yeah.
So the registers were there, right?
Oh, uh-huh.
And the line went all the way around to the main gate on the side where, well, the students come in on one side, but all the rest of the fans come in on the other side. I think it's the south gate. I'm not north gate.
Oh no, I don't exactly remember, but
I'm
yeah, I
not
mean,
great.
because I know the away sideline is, on one side. That's actually where like we ended up facing when I was in the marching band with the front ensemble is the away sideline. So I know that area very well. And then the opposite side's the home side, where I guess now where our seats are, and with yeah, yeah, on the other side of the student section, and where the
Yeah, but
near the tunnel is and everything.
the
So
line stretched all the way from the away sideline concourse
oh god,
all the way to the main gate. You know, the gate where
in the
they
front, right?
have the knight statue. They
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the statue of the first running back. They have the big American flag.
Right,
It
right.
went, it wrapped around a quarter of the stadium.
Oh my goodness. It's like
Yeah,
typical Rutgers unorganized fashion. Yeah, I was thinking about going to the Nike one, but didn't really get a chance. But I mean there's stuff online. I might order something, I might not. We'll see what happens. But
free
yeah.
shipping off of orders $50 or more.
Yeah, I did see that too, the free shipping. So yeah, that might be something to to capitalize on, of course. But yeah, I mean, like, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously we're going to be going to a lot of the games. I do have enough Rutgers merch, but I could probably get, something maybe either on the Banks related or just Rutgers football related, in
Local shout
general.
out. If you're going to get Rutgers merch, the best place to go is not the pro shop or whatever it is. The
Scarlet
best place
Fever.
to go is to Scarlet Fever in New
Yeah.
Brunswick.
I was thinking
They
about
have the
going.
best Rutgers
Yeah,
merch.
and I think the prices are also cheaper too. So I think I might just pop there or order something from there, to be honest with you. But
I wouldn't know about cheaper, but I don't know about cheaper. I think they're like about the same, if
maybe.
I were to say.
I've seen the
But their
quality.
stuff
I've
is
been
better.
there. Yeah, the stuff is pretty good. So yeah, maybe I'll go to Scarlet Fever if I need any Rutgers merch for the season coming up.
I got my New Brunswick bar hopper shirt from
Oh
there.
yeah,
I
nice.
love that shirt.
Yeah, yeah, that one's pretty cool. Anyway, so I mean, I guess with all of that, out of the way, we could start discussing some other stuff. But I guess first of all, I mean, obviously, like, I guess now you and me both, like, we're trying to, like, I guess go into sports writing and stuff like that. Obviously, you've been the site manager for On the Banks. You've I believe we talked about this like when we first started, but you worked with the Targum, and then you also had internships with the Gridiron Heroics. You wrote for them and SRA. So I guess where did your like journey in sports writing start, and how did you, I guess, work your way towards getting towards where you are today?
So actually, a lot of my uh, thrill for news and news writing came in my second year of college, believe it or not. Um, when I was still at Brookdale, because I didn't transfer to Rutgers until my third year of college. I finished my last 2 years at Rutgers, but I started the first two at community college near me. I didn't really have that passion for journalism until I had one class at Brookdale, which I wish I could give the teacher's name to give her a shout out. But I I for that one class, I mean, I've always loved sports. I've loved sports in every fashion, but that one class really opened my eyes to the different types of journalism that there were. And as you might know, Brookdale has a very good community college basketball team. They're winning seasons in and year out, and being able to be around that environment, even though it's still just community college, being around a winning team, being able to talk about that winning team with other journalists in the area, in
Right.
the local area, and then translating that sports journalism. That's really where it began to kick off for me. Because I actually started college, I was thinking about being a political science major. I was thinking about being a history major.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I never actually really changed my major because I never declared one.
Oh.
But I always kept flipping on what I would declare my major to be once I got up to Rutgers, because you didn't really need to declare one when you were in community college. But as I get that passion for journalism instilled in me, then we got up to Rutgers, and I knew, just because of how much Rutgers is connected into the journalism world, big time athletics, even though people like to clown on us for it all the time. We are big time. They can't take that away from us.
True.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that the love of sports has always been there. I've always wanted to work with sports in some way. I just needed to find that other niche, that other passion, that other skill set that I can to contribute to the world of sports. And now it's it's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing to do. I mean, every time that I get a chance and sit down and write an article, it's just
Yeah.
it's bliss.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel that.
when I get to talk to people um, about my job, about my work. Last season, when Rutgers played Maryland at Maryland, on my own dollar, I took the trip down to Maryland, and I spent almost my entire time talking with other Rutgers fans who made the trip in the crowd, telling them about On the Banks, talking to them about the team, talking to them about all this other stuff. And you really meet some incredible people that way as well. But it's just those moments where you're working hard to promote your product that really instill that passion to keep going, I guess.
Yeah. No, that totally makes a lot of sense actually. So yeah, I mean, I guess kind of like same here. So I mean, like, in terms of when you talk about like, feel you're in your you're in your bliss and you're writing these articles and everything like that. I guess that's kind of how I feel too. But so I guess how did like your internships at like Sports Radio America and like your other ones, like I guess, and like your previous journalism experience, like how did that all and how did that all lead up to you like, working with On the Banks and then eventually becoming like the site manager?
Well, when I was working with the Daily Targum, because I joined the Daily Targum in my third year of college, planning to graduate my next year. Um, as you might know, the Daily Targum itself is very much the people that have been there the longest are going to get preferential
Yeah.
treatment, covering what sports they want, and that's how it should be. You
Right.
know, if you've been there for 4 years,
Yeah,
you've
100%.
worked hard for 4 years, you should be able to cover whatever sport you want: men's basketball, football, whatever.
Hmm.
The thing is, with me coming in 2 years late, that was never going to be an option. You
Yeah.
know, there
Yeah.
was always going to be somebody behind me that's been like there for 3 years, there for 4 years, when
Yeah.
at most I can get was two.
True.
I had a really good time covering wrestling for the Daily Targum. Um, Scott Goodall runs one of the most stable programs at Rutgers, consistently ranked, consistently, a powerhouse in the wrestling world. I got to do a couple interviews with Boone McDermott. He was the heavyweight wrestler for Rutgers at the time. I got to attend some open press conferences with Goodall. That was a great experience. And if you've ever had an experience to talk to Coach Goodall, I definitely recommend it. He is a character. It's you look at his Twitter feed, if you look at the way he speaks, he's an absolute character, to say the least. But that really helped me gain the necessary experience and break out of that shell a little bit, because first getting to Rutgers, I definitely had a little bit of a shell around me where I found it hard to like reach out and talk to people. Now it's completely different. Now it's I feel like I can never stop talking, especially when I get talking about sports journalism.
Yeah.
But starting off with the Daily Targum, like, I value the experience that it gave me. I value the time that I had there, but I also knew that there was a little bit of a ceiling of what we can do here. So
Makes sense.
I worked with them for a while, wrote for them for a while, and then I see this, because when you're in that world, you're always checking the other sites in that world for maybe an opportunity to do something. And that's when I realized or saw that the former site manager for On the Bank's name was Greg Pizzuto. He put out kind of like a calling for writers article for On the Banks. And, I wasn't even the one that saw that. My dad actually notified me about that and told me, hey, just go submit some work in. I was like, oh yeah, sure, that's it. That sounds great. Submitted my work. Started to get the ball rolling. I started a series with On the Banks that I'm gonna revive at the start of football season. It was my 3 Keys to Victory series.
Cool. I like that. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's something that quickly latched on to the site's regulars, where basically each week, and a lot of it was regurgitating some points, especially in the beginning, but it was like 3 keys to beat certain teams in each week.
Yeah.
Granted, when in 2023, when the Rutgers offense was still not very good, when Gavin Wimsatt
Oh boy. Yeah.
was that quarterback,
Right.
a lot of the points became very regurgitated. Number one, limit turnovers. We all know, like, Mr. Wimsatt's tendency with his turnovers. Just flash back to the Ohio State game.
Yeah.
A lot of it was establish the run. That was the year that Kyle Monangai was the Big Ten rushing leader. So a lot of the points were regurgitated, but it seemed to be a very popular series with the regulars. And I kept on, writing for them, kept on posting, and just, I guess, cultivated my own sort of audience in that sense. It's weird to describe, but a lot of the times when you're writing for a certain site, you write for them for a while, you can have like certain people that look out for your stuff. But as that progressed, that I started to do more work with On the Banks, I started to receive other opportunities, because On the Banks was not a internship really at the time. It was just something that people kind of did for fun. You kind of just posted on there to get noticed, or you kind of just posted on there to get noticed, or I guess keep putting yourself out there. But when you try to keep putting yourself out there like that, you begin to realize that maybe I need to start taking this a little bit more seriously and move into a little bit more serious of a position. So that's when I started applying to several different internships, and that's when I landed at Sports Radio America. And Sports Radio America was a very good internship for me. It was my first time ever being in almost like a real professional online newsroom, where you had somebody that you had to submit your articles to. He would critique it. He would edit them. He would fix them in any way he saw suit. But that was valuable experience getting into a professional news environment like that one. And then afterwards, after working with sports radio for America for a while, I took a jump over to Gridiron Heroics. And I actually wrote for Gridiron Heroics for a while. I want to say it was give or take 5 or 6 months. Gridiron Heroics was the first ever sports journalism site that paid me to cover Rutgers football or Rutgers athletics in any sort of fashion. And what that site told me, or what that site ingrained in me, is some lessons that I will take. Is some lessons that I will take throughout the rest of my career in sports journalism, because that website really taught me what it's like to be the new kid on the block and what it's like to have somebody criticize your work. One of my first ever articles for Gridiron Heroics had a stat error where I said that Ethan Kalikmanis in the 2024 season, that was his 1 year of eligibility. That was wrong. He really had 2.
Right.
That post found its way onto Rivals Rivals forums.
Yeah.
And, oh boy, they ripped me apart for that one minor mistake. And it was granted because, as a journalist, you're expected to be
Right.
accurate.
Yeah.
But that lesson really taught me what it's. That lesson really taught me, sometimes you're going to get nicked and bumped in this career, and you just got to keep going through it. But that's, unfortunately, with Gridiron Heroics, is that it was not it was a very tough work environment, and for my situation at the time, it was very hard to make it work. So I couldn't continue doing what I was doing there. But that's when some opportunities On the Banks began to arise. I kind of kept pestering my former site manager that I wanted to contribute more, and I was looking to become a paid writer. So I kept pestering him. And then finally, it all comes back to that game against Maryland. I'm down there, and it finally seems to break through a lot, where it's like, we have this position where we can offer you $200 a month for 2 articles a week. I was like, perfect. That's something. That's getting me going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Then, not 3 months later, he moves on to better opportunities, and all of a sudden, there's a vacancy and no other paid writers on staff. That's when SB Nation reached out to allow me to step into his role.
Gotcha. Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that certainly, that does definitely sum up pretty much your whole career or your journey so far, within sports writing and everything. But yeah, I mean, I guess I could draw some similarities to that, like with same thing. Like I mean, I've had a lot of my friends head to WRCU, and it was kind of the same thing. Like, so there were a lot of seniority. It was hard to kind of climb the ladder, especially starting late, because I didn't really start till my junior year, because I didn't even really hear about it until probably my sophomore year when I was in marching band, because I was in a journalism major. So kind of the same thing. And I found a lot of that tough because I felt like I really had to be on the money just to get any opportunities at all, especially like, anything that I wanted. But and obviously I made a lot of friends, and I had a lot of friends that did Targum and WRCU. So I mean, I could understand why, the same would be true in both worlds. And then in terms of SRA, I mean, like, that's another thing that I did too. I still kind of loosely do it, although I'm kind of trying to move towards more like on the banks now. But I guess what I liked about that opportunity in particular was that they kind of let you write about like whatever you choose, or like there's no like, I guess like I think me or you were probably also like a Big Ten designated writer, like Rutgers writer, like
Yeah, I was a Rutgers writer.
yeah,
Although there was some problems with getting Rutgers
credential.
media availability. So
Yeah,
instead of being just a designated Rutgers writer, they allowed me to branch off into other sorts of content. I wrote articles about the Giants. I wrote articles about hockey and the Islanders, the Flyers. So
yeah,
with
I got
those
to do a lot of that.
difficulties
Yeah.
came like a new opportunity to write about one of my other passions, which is hockey.
That's true. Yeah. It's the same thing with me too. Like, I try to get credentials for that specifically. Also, I think while I was trying to do RSU, like in some of my off weeks, but that didn't really pan out. So I ended up going to a couple games just as a fan or watching some on TV. But yeah, I was supposed to be a Rutgers writer, did write pieces related to that. I think I did, I did back then. I did a game by game, but it wasn't really like, yeah, same thing. Like, it kind of opened up opportunities for me to write other stuff. I wrote a lot about the Giants. I wrote, especially this past off season, looking for something in that world, which I'll get to in a second. But yeah. And then in terms of like national coverage, I've always kind of had an eye for that, which I do at Sports 5. So I wrote a lot about, every time there was like a big, like, I've written about the Super Bowl, I wrote about the college football playoff, because if there's one sport I love the most, it's probably college football, like Rutgers included, but like other than that. But I really love that. So I've written about now March Madness, NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoff finals, like everything like that, like for the past few years. Like most of the pieces on that site that are like national, like related, like are mine. So like if you wanna check that out, you can. But I'm recently have more shifted towards like on the banks now too, because I guess kind of another like similarity, like, I saw like when you put out all the posts about, looking for writers, this and that, and I was kind of out of the world of, I had quit WRCU at that point in time. I kind of, made some shifts in my career and everything. I was kind of going through some stuff personally as well. So like, I was kind of like, I've kind of gone away from that route. Like, is that really what I want? Do I really want to try to come back and do that? Do I really care that much anymore? But I was like, why not? Like, cause just like band and radio, like, maybe in the beginning I wasn't super enthusiastic, but I was just like, it's an opportunity, and who knows what it could lead up to. And then, just like the other two, I ended up loving it. So like, and I'm still doing it. And then in terms of the, the Giants stuff, that actually, I was looking for opportunities to write specifically for the Giants, or like, well, so, I applied for Fansided, didn't get it. You had set me up with the Sports SB Nation writer for the Giants. He didn't really completely get back to me, although he said he would. But then I guess, I also applied to this site called Empire Sports Media, where they cover not only the Giants, but a lot of other New York teams, like the Yankees, the Mets, the Giants and the Jets, and they don't really cover the Nets a lot, and I'm a Nets fan. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I could write about the Nets, the Giants, maybe the Devils, who they don't cover. And, so I got accepted. And I guess, the only problem with that is like sometimes, and they also cover NBA, like kind of more general. So the only problem is that sometimes it's hard to balance my time, and, I don't know, like, between the different sites, and and then, sometimes with the basic news pieces, it's a little bit of a challenge for me. Like, but like I did write about one of the Nets, like the draft pick, their draft picks in general, especially Igor Damian. And then another thing that I maybe could have written if I had more time was probably like the Cam Johnson trade. But sometimes I like to write more analysis than just those types of pieces. So I have to kind of figure out how that's going to go, because if I want to do, work during the dry part of the summer. I mean, I'm gonna have to come up with something original for the Giants, maybe some player profiles, whatnot. But I'm happy to get the opportunity. And then obviously with On the Banks, I'm definitely enjoying my time with that. It's opened up more doors in terms of podcasting, and obviously I met you, and we're going to these games, and I enjoy doing the articles. Like, yeah, like you said, like it's really fun. It feels like you kind of like in terms of like comparing it to radio and stuff like that. I mean, it's a little different, but I mean, and I think in all of the things that I've done, I've wanted in journalism, I've definitely wanted to have some sort of like respect and some sort of some sort of inside edge on things, and this kind of gives me that, and it gives me like a free space to contribute how I see fit and to put out something productive from my point of view that it's analysis based. It also throws in some of my expertise, my opinions, my fandom. I know the teams because I've been following them for a while. So it really did put a lot of different things together. Yeah. So I mean, that's I guess where I am now. So I mean, other than that, like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where I am. We'll see how things end up shaking out, going forward in terms of careers and with sites. Like I'm trying to get balance Empire Sports with On the Banks. I think I'm leaning more towards On the Banks right now in terms of content, but probably gonna mix both. But I mean, in terms of like, I guess you're the future now, like looking ahead, like where do you like see this going? Like right now you're managing this site. Like, I know a lot of people start here and they end up at bigger sites. Like, is that something you've seen for yourself, like in terms of your own career, or like how do you like what do you think the next like steps are for you?
Well, in all honesty, I would love to launch myself into this field full time. Whether that be covering a specific team, league, or whatever. Even better if it ends up covering Rutgers full time for like an NJ.com, maybe even the Night Report, or anybody like that, really. I would love to find a way to launch myself into this career full time. But right now it's about getting the edge, getting the recognition, getting the trust, because those places they're not gonna hire somebody that they can't trust to do a good job. So
Right.
doing a good job week in and week out and constantly working hard with limited resources is what's going to get you noticed by those sites. I firmly believe.
Yeah, I mean, and then in terms, same thing with like, Sports Illustrated, for example. I've seen some like, I think Greg Batuto used to manage this, other writers going up to there, and then NJ.com, like all of the ones you just mentioned, like, yeah, I mean, then, eventually, I guess getting press credentials, like working full time, doing things like that. I mean, they
That's the dream
also,
right there. That's the
right,
dream.
exactly. Going to Rutgers games, like I've seen them when I went to like like stuff with RSC, like they're there every week. Then they also have their own podcast too, which is I guess like when I was first starting to become like a fan of the teams, like I'd be in band and like and stuff, but I wanted more information on who were playing, like things like that, just the basics, like like
Yeah.
what to expect, like all of that. Like they have all the inside information, and but they put it out in a way that's digestible and entertaining, and if you really want to learn, like you could learn a lot from that. And just the articles too, like the prediction article. So it's just like I don't know, I used to like listen to the night reports like during football season, like every week, then eventually became like the Rutgers rant. Like that one's also really good, and it's also more like kind of casual. So like those two really, that one caught on later on. So I mean, and I mean nowadays now it's like we're doing our own, and like as as silly as it sounds, like I never thought like I'd be in that position, like to be able to do like my own like insider type podcast with you. Like I mean, it might sound like, oh, anyone could do that, but like no, it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of accumulation of knowledge, and just you know what I mean. Like I wasn't even really a Rutgers fan my like whole life, because not that many people around like me were, and stuff like that, and the team
Well,
was
that's
also,
the problem right there.
yeah, and also the teams were, well, was also horrible. And like even though I was a pretty big pro fan for like a lot longer, like but just a few years, like I was able to accumulate knowledge. I was able to develop a strong passion, and really want to contribute, I guess, through different experiences that I had. And like things, I guess they, in a long-winded way with some challenges, they did end up working out to a certain point where I feel like I have my place, and like I feel like I'm good at what I do, at least good enough to share it with the world. And this is another thing that like I really enjoy, like the series in particular, and also just the Sports 5 series. I guess now that you're doing these two podcasts like pretty regularly with me, like, I mean, what do you think? What has that like been like for you? Because I mean, for me, like over the past few years, like it's been really fun to see this growing from, not really knowing how to do a podcast, having different co-hosts, to talking about sports. Now we kind of have a theme. We have different things like every week, and now I have you on, and then we started the Bells Must Ring. Like I said, like that part in particular, like that one's been really cool for me because like that's where I started, like listening to stuff like that. And I didn't think I'd be in that position, and now I am. And in terms of Sports 5, I feel like it fills a void that like like not everyone does that, but I feel like what we do it's productive, it's helpful. It's a lot, but it synthesizes a lot of information, breaks it down, and especially like the NBA Stanley Cup series is always for the third straight year. It's been a lot of fun. So I mean, what's your experience been like now? Doing these two podcasts with me like every week, pretty much.
Well, starting off with the Bells Must Ring, I was thinking to myself, I had just taken over as site manager, and that was something I wanted to do pretty much as soon as I can get another person to do it with me. You look at these other sites. AJ.com has the Rutgers Rant. The Night Report has the Night Report TV.
Right.
Even prominent Rutgers media figures like Aaron Brightman or the
He has his
247,
own.
they all have their own show. They all have their own podcast. So
True.
if we as a site and we as journalists are to be taken seriously, or I guess try to put ourselves on that level, why aren't we doing what they're doing? If we have the opportunity to do what they're doing and like get a podcast out there, start recording, start showing that we know our ins and outs about Rutgers, and being able to give it to our fans in a nice digestible format, because our podcast pretty much consists of all the news of the week. So rather than somebody clicking through 12 different articles to get all the information, now you block out an hour of your time,
right,
and you get through pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah.
So not only does it help us in our careers, it helps our site in its legitimacy, it helps our fans consume more Rutgers information than they could probably get there, and they could probably comprehend or even stand. So it's really like, and in all honesty, it's kind of like, why weren't we doing this earlier?
Yeah.
It's convenient for our fans. It's good for our site. It's good for our journalists as themselves. It's like, why were we not doing this earlier? Plus, it also opens up other opportunities to work on air or even have some special guests aboard, which I have been working on. Some of them with minimal success, but we have been working. Actually, most of them with minimal success. We have been working on. I do have a couple guests that have agreed to come on the pod. We just need to work out times.
Oh, sweet.
That's the biggest issue. We've been trying to work out times. But it's really just about giving better content to our fans, giving more condensed content to our fans,
right,
and giving interesting content to our fans as well, while giving our all into building the legitimacy of ourselves as reporters and as our site as a reliable Rutgers news source.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, it's all about delivering good content, making us like putting us on that level of like, or at least like getting it towards that level of, like you said, the Night Report, the Rutgers Rant, like all
if they can do it, why can't we?
Yeah, like all these sites have podcasts. Like, how are we like any different? Or why should we be any different? Like, why can't we do
if their fans get that, we should give that to our fans.
Right. Yeah. And it's also like, yeah, like you said, instead of having to click through every article, or like, all the, it's easy to have everything in one place. And sometimes like conversations can bring a different light to it, I guess, than articles can. Like you could digest things in more detail, and it's also entertaining. And you can listen to a podcast while working out or going, like driving, like, you know what I mean? Like so many, it's just like I've done that, like, you know what I mean? So like, so I mean, it's just like very convenient. It's not like you have to say, oh, I'm just gonna sit down for an hour and watch a pod. You could, but
Yeah.
like, I mean, I have, but like you could also do it with other things. Like it's whatever you want. So I mean, like, it's good. It's good content and it's informational, and like you said, it's a good opportunities for us here. Obviously, like you put that on tape, like show what we could do. And maybe you're just looking for the right co-host, because like you said, like you wanted to do it, and like I guess with me having a kind of a background and doing my own, like it kind of, the opportunity kind of worked out. I was like, hey, yeah, I mean, I'll devote my time to this. Like obviously, like I've wanted that kind of insider edge, the respect, and also just being able to produce the content. And we have a script. I mean, like, we kind of like, doing the research during the week and writing the articles definitely kind of helps by the time the episode rolls around on Sunday or whenever we decide to record, because by then we already know what we're talking about. So I mean, it kind of all like adds up. Like, the more time you spend on it, and it's not like it's not, I guess like the fun part is it's not really work, because when you have a passion for it, like it kind of just comes naturally. Like you're not really working. When you're checking your phone, you're seeing this stuff pop up, and like the same goes for mine too. Like I'm like, when I see the stuff on Instagram or on Twitter, like it's just like comes through. You know what I mean? So like by the time, like, it's not really work for us to like necessarily make these. I mean, it
Doesn't
is
feel
work,
like it.
but it doesn't feel like it because it's fun. So I mean, that's the best part. And like getting to do the hard work and doing the making the episode so other people can enjoy it, it definitely
Yeah.
makes it memorable. And also just to get to have these discussions too, because I mean, we spend enough time researching and looking through things, and to getting to be able to talk about it as well is it's always fun. It's why I like doing the crew at WRCU. It's why I like it. I enjoy doing Sports Vibe as well. So I mean, like, with that in mind, actually, it's a big time of the NBA off season, NBA free agency. I know NHL free agency is also like going on to extent to a big extent. Florida ended up pretty much re-signing all their guys that were on the market. But in terms of the NBA, I mean, absolutely, it's a fun time. I mean, there's a lot to get to. So I guess starting with our Nets. So Cam Johnson, the big move was Cam Johnson being traded to the Denver Nuggets for Michael Porter Jr., as well as a 2032 first rounder, which is like forever from now. So I mean, I don't know. That might be in past Jokic's prime, whatnot. I mean, the Nets are definitely in a full stage rebuild. It doesn't mean they will be bad in 2032. At that point, I guess the hope is that the pick turns into an asset that could be traded, or who knows? I mean, maybe they draft someone, maybe it's a good pick. I don't know, but like, I mean, it just seems like a long way away. But I mean, in terms of the actual trade, I mean, yeah, I mean, I like Cam Johnson, like as a player and everything a lot, but at the same time, like, I it feels like he was on the trade block for such a long time. Like it felt like, was this actually ever going to happen? And to be able to replace him with another player that's very similar. I mean, they're both tall forwards. They can both shoot. They're both really good 3-point shooters for their size, especially, and in general. Almost 40%, and just scorers. I mean, we're pairing Cam Thomas with MPJ. You have a bunch of point guards now on this team who can pass the basketball, who are known for that almost to a fault. And now you have two like scorers. Also the moves of to re-sign Zaire Williams, Day'Ron Sharp, and losing Trenton Watford and D'Angelo Russell are some of the other moves. But it looks like they're going all in on rebuilding. It looks like they're going to be able to re-sign Cam Thomas, because most of the teams in the NBA don't even have the cap space to really put together a good offer. So right now. So I mean, look, but I think the whole priority of this offseason is to re-sign Cam Thomas. Obviously, they've drafted well. I don't know, maybe not as well as I'd like, but they've gotten a lot of prospects. But I mean, what do you think about this move trading Cam Johnson to Denver? I think that also sets them up well. I mean, you put Jokic with Johnson. They've made some nice moves too. I mean, adding Jonas Valanciunas and Tim Hardaway. But for Brooklyn, I mean, like, I think it definitely, you're rebuilding, but you're also trying to have fun in the process. And I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to be a nice distraction for the fans because he's going to shoot and score a lot, just like Cam Thomas. It's going to be fun for a few years. They might not win a whole lot, but I think for what it's worth, I think it's a pretty solid move. I think they could have maybe gotten more for it, to be honest. I think maybe they could have gotten another pick in there or an earlier pick, but I think overall it's not a bad idea. I think it's a pretty good one.
I don't know about pairing MPJ with Cam Thomas though, because you describe Cam Thomas as a scorer.
Yeah.
I'm going to describe him as a shooter. He takes a lot of shots,
Yeah,
and he's not very efficient.
That's true. He's not the most of he's like his percentages aren't great. Like I think he's somewhere in the 40s and 2s and 30s and 3s. Like he's not like really an elite shooter, but because he's such a volume scorer and he ends up making, he's like at least 20 point per game scorer. So but he really does need the ball in his hands. That's the thing. I think MPJ is kind of similar too. He's not super efficient. He doesn't really make plays for himself. He kind of needs someone else to do it, which is kind of why in Denver he was kind of like dead weight a little bit, I guess. Maybe why they were able to get rid of him. But I think Cam Johnson's a little bit better of making plays and stuff like that. But yeah, you're having two guys who need the basketball in their hands. They put up a lot of shots. They're similar in terms of their game. I mean, I guess the only difference is, MPJ's a bit taller, so he's more of like almost Kevin Durant type height, like doing it at the forward. Well, Cam Thomas is more like a shooting guard, a little bit shorter. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like it's an interesting mix, but I mean, I feel like they have enough passers where the rest of the team is gonna have no problem getting the ball to the two of them. So it should be interesting to see what exactly happens with that situation.
We'll see if somebody gets preferential treatment or something like that.
Yeah, because for a while it was like Cam Thomas wasn't even I guess they were hesitant to start him because he didn't really do a whole lot else besides just shoot the basketball, and he didn't really play great defense. Then he ended up having these 40-point nights, and then they're like, well, he has to start now. Like, what are you guys doing? So then he ended up, but now this I don't know, the Nets are just really dysfunctional. But I don't know. I mean, given that they're in this midst of a rebuild, I don't really hate it, I guess. But you're kind of, I feel like they're trading like for like, I guess. It's Cam Johnson versus MPJ. Maybe you're losing a little bit of talent, but I don't know. I mean, it looks like they're putting together a good core, and I think they'll have some fun with it. So I mean, I guess some of the big moves of this free agency that I wanted to get to. Obviously, I think the biggest one was the Bucks and what they've been up to, because they made the shocking decision to just cut Damian Lillard out of so they wouldn't have to pay him a salary, and they signed Myles Turner from your Indiana Pacers. So fresh off the NBA Finals. So I mean, obviously he didn't really have the most effective series, I feel like, compared to so many of the other players in that series. I know what he could do as a player. I don't know what it's a very interesting move. Obviously, what the Bucks are trying to do is they're trying to, surround Giannis with the right talent to win a championship. Dame Lillard he has a torn Achilles, so he's not going to be healthy for the next season. But I don't know. I feel like it's a bit shocking. I was hoping that the Dame Giannis pairing would work out, but it feels like the Bucks just decide to go in a different direction, kind of cutting that deadweight salary and then getting Turner, who's a good 3-and-D center who brings size. A nice compliment to Giannis, who likes to attack the rim and stuff like that. But I don't know. What do you think of that move in general? Because I think it's definitely the shocker of the NBA free agency period for sure.
I feel like it's a little bit of a disrespect almost.
Yeah,
to Damian Lillard. I don't know, because Damian Lillard's always been about loyalty.
Yeah, that's what I hate about it.
When he was in Portland, it was loyalty. Now it's it feels like a little bit of disrespect, because what he can be for that franchise. Because you've seen it. One injury and he's done. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Think of if an NFL team does one injury and then they're done, they would lose half their players. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. People are getting injured all the time in the
Yeah.
NFL. So I mean, yeah. I mean, I get it. I feel like this offseason's just been, or this playoffs has just been the even the regular season too. I mean, it's been the Kyrie Irving, Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum. I mean, you name Damian Lillard. It's been like the season of like Achilles tears and whatnot. Because like I don't mean to say that like lightly, but it's just how it is. Like unfortunately, so I mean, but to cut him just because of that, like I mean, I know what they're trying to do is build a core, and they couldn't afford to make a big move like and take on Turner's salary without releasing Dame Lillard, who has like $100-something million salary as well over the next few seasons. So I get it, but I mean, I guess that where does Dame Lillard go now? Because now, I mean, I've been seeing the Lakers, the Celtics, the Warriors as potential options for
They're
Dame,
always going to be
a
in
contender.
in the mix for the big transfer or for the big free agent signing. When in reality, we all know that he's going to Charlotte.
Charlotte, okay, yeah.
I can't even laugh about that. That's not happening.
No, definitely not. I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting. I mean, I don't really know too much about the situation, but I mean, the Celtics have kind of done a lot with their offseason. I mean, they've gotten rid of Porzingis to the Hawks. They've traded Drew Holiday. I mean, they could use a point guard like a shooter like Dame Lillard. I mean, maybe they're looking at that. I don't know. I think they're trying to get on, they've kind of broken up their team for financial reasons. So, I mean, that's potentially an option. I mean, the Lakers are always going to be in the mix for players like that. They just signed DeAndre Ayton. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, maybe I feel like the Knicks are good. They have Brunson, but in terms, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting for sure. I mean, I've seen like the Portland Blazers, or the Trailblazers, like might be in the mix, but I don't know. I feel like he might want to go to a contender. So Lakers, Celtics. Yeah, I mean, probably one of those two like might get him, or the Warriors is an interesting thing. But the problem with that is, I mean, they have Steph Curry. I mean, imagine having two of the greatest shooters in this generation on the same team, but they both play the same position basically too. They're both point guards. They also like kind of need the ball in their hands a bit. So like it's just like although they facilitate, but it's just I don't really think that would work out so well. I mean, they already have Jimmy Butler too on top of that. That'd be interesting. I mean, he is from the Bay, like a little homecoming too for him. I mean, they would be deadly, like if they were able to work Steph and Dame in there. But I don't know. Who knows? It could be the Celtics, the Lakers. It could be anyone. I don't really know, honestly. I mean, that's gonna be very interesting for sure. I mean, his contract's gonna, it's gonna command. He's gonna command a lot of money on the market for sure. So. I mean, I guess whatever happens, like I hope he ends up on a team where he could, win a championship because he's like loyal to like a fault, and I really feel like he deserves one. Like kind of like the way, as upset as I was as a Nets fan, like I was happy to see Giannis like be able to win a ring because I kind of felt like it might be the only one for a while. Like I kind of want the same thing to happen with Dame. So wherever he ends up, at least on like a contender, like maybe Boston would be good for that, or LA, like something like that, perhaps.
I don't know if I could stomach another Boston championship.
No, I don't. I don't like them like at all. But yeah, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe like the Lakers and the Dubs. I
Good
don't
for
know.
him, not good for us.
Yeah, I mean whatever works for him, I guess. I mean the Lakers could use a boost. I feel like maybe that could be a fit. I mean, you can move Luka to the small forward and have LeBron play power forward. I mean, they're looking to make splash, so I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens with Dame. I mean, I guess some of these other moves, it was supposed to be like a quiet free agency, but even in a quiet free agency, it's like a lot's happened. I mean, we have Nikhil Alexander-Walker going to the Hawks. Obviously, Porzingis went there. They're sneaking, setting up like a sneaky team around, Trae Young and Porzingis, and Luke Cornett ends up going to the Spurs for like a 4-year deal worth 41 million, and for like a backup center, like I mean that's just like a lot of money. Definitely proved something. Like what he could do to get that kind of a deal. With the Spurs too, where Dylan Harper's going to. And so the Texas trio is going to be deadly. And then the Charlotte Hornets making a move, sending Colin Sexton to no, they're sending Nurkic to the Jazz for Colin Sexton. The Knicks are taking or have added Jordan Clarkson, so the Jazz kind of making some changes at point guard and shooting guard. I know because I just wrote a roster on Ace Bailey and their fit and everything. So a lot of that has already, they're settling on their young guys like Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, Ace Bailey's going to be in that mix, Lauri Markkanen, Yusuf Nurkic, and then I guess some of the bigger ones, SGA signing a huge deal with the OKC 4-year extension, 4-year deal worth $285 million, which is just absolutely nuts. I mean, the Thunder are only going to get better. I mean, they have Jalen Williams, they have Chet Holmgren. All these guys have not even hit their prime yet, and they still have draft picks to come. I mean, they're just going to be right back, they're going to be right back on the mix where they are. And then on top of that, I mean, so that's just going to be a tough team to beat. But I feel like the Rockets have really asserted themselves as a contender. I think the Nuggets as well. But I think obviously the biggest trade was Kevin Durant going to Houston. They've made a lot of moves to surround to really become a big contender in the West. I mean, they've extended Steven Adams, Jabari Smith Jr., Fred VanVleet. They've added Clint Capella, who used to play on the Rockets, back from the Hawks. This trade could end up becoming a 7-team trade. I was doing some research because that kind of scared me a little bit, but it seems like the trade's only going to include Durant, Brooks, Green, so Dylan Brooks, and Jalen Green are both going to the Phoenix Suns. Clint Capella is coming alongside Hawks guard DeQuan Plowden, who I guess is the reserve because I've never heard of him, both going to Houston, and then obviously Kevin Durant. And the rest of the trades, or the rest of these teams, which include so many other teams are involved in this trade. I think the Nets, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Wolves, they're all going to be involved. But it looks like and the Hawks, as well as the Suns and the Rockets, are all going to be involved in this 7-team trade. But it seems like only those 5 players are going to be involved in the trade. The rest of them are from the draft day trades, and they have not been finalized yet. So I guess they've basically that kind of means that these other trades are going to involve recent draft picks, things like that, just to kind of move money around, move assets around. So nothing's going to really shake up. It's not like LeBron James is going to be traded to the Nets or Cam Thomas is going to be on the Lakers. It's not like that, but they're just moving assets around to make sure the math works and make sure everyone's under the salary cap. But just the fact that they're able to do a 7-team trade, I mean, which has never been done. They've had a 6-team trade last year. I mean, I don't know. These GMs are really making moves. Obviously, the centerpiece of this is going to be Kevin Durant going to the Rockets for, I believe a 1st-round pick, Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks going over to Phoenix. And I mean, Phoenix definitely didn't really do too well with Kevin Durant. They're in a rebuilding phase, but I mean, Houston, I think is going to look good with that. And with the moves that they're making to extend guys like VanVleet, Adams, Capella, and putting a big 3 in together. I mean, you have Kevin Durant, you have Amen Thompson and Alfred Sengun. I mean, I was watching them last season. They were not bad. I mean, they lost to the Golden State Warriors in 7, but they've just gotten a heck of a lot better. So if there's any team that could compete with OKC Thunder, I would say it's the Houston Rockets. I mean, they're ready to win now. This roster looks really good. I mean, I guess it really all depends on what kind of version of Kevin Durant we're going to get, because if he's anything like, we know him to be, like, the Houston Rockets could be a dangerous team in the Western Conference for probably the next few years.
Definitely. I mean, this is the all-in push right now. This is the all-in push. Like, we have to win the next couple of years or else we're going to be mired in a rebuild.
Yeah.
So they're going all in now.
Yeah. I like how teams can just do that. They're like, either we're going all in or we're rebuilding. Like, you kind of just make a decision and stick to it. Like, obviously the Nets are rebuilding. I don't know. It's just unfortunate what happened. It feels like every time Kevin Durant comes to a new team, since Golden State, the Nets was bad. The Suns was somehow that even worse. I feel like because they ended up getting worse and worse as the years went on. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, Houston Rockets are definitely going all in. I guess this brings us to kind of the end of the free agency section. But I did want to talk about like with all of this, like I think most of the major moves are probably like pretty much done. Maybe we'll have some more, but I think with all the dust settling and like, well, who are the real contenders like in each conference? So I mean, in the Western Conference, I think the Thunder, the Rockets are probably going to be like the top two. I think the Nuggets are going to be in there, and I would say the Wolves they made the Western Conference Finals back-to-back years, and they've except for Alexander Walker, I mean I think they're bringing back Julius Randle, some of these other people as well. So I'm DiVincenzo, and Anthony Edwards, of course. So I mean, I feel like that, that could be a team that is in the top four as well. Obviously, besides all of that, I mean, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Clippers, they're all teams that are like in the mix. But I don't know. I feel like going against these teams who have more depth and more star power on the top end, it's going to be tough. Like we saw what happened last season with both the Lakers and the Warriors, as hyped as they were. I just feel like, you have to build a team the way OKC did, or at least you have to like make pushes like the Rockets and the Nuggets did. I feel like the Lakers, Warriors, Clippers, the way they are right now, they might be in that second tier of teams. They might not be where,
they make the
top four are.
playoffs, but not a true contender.
Yeah, like they'll definitely make the playoffs. They'll be in the mix, but like I don't know. Like I just don't feel like they're quite there. Where these four are. I mean, even the Wolves too. Like I feel like I don't know. I feel like the Nuggets have definitely entered the top tier. Like as it is, they were so close to being the Thunder, and they added Bruce Brown. They've added Cam Johnson, Valanciunas. I mean, they look really good. The Rockets are gonna they have so many players going for them. They have a big three. I don't know. I feel like that's what you really need. You need like two or three different guys who could really, you need like a big three of some sort, I guess, to really be able to match up with these other big threes. Two guys that are good is, simply isn't going to cut it anymore. I guess we're out of the era of super duos, and now we're kind of in the era of like the big threes and kind of having depth and team chemistry. Like we saw the Pacers and Thunder this year, and like two stars just isn't going to get it done. In the East, I mean, I feel like we're wide open because all the ACL or Achilles injuries. I mean, the Celtics are going to be God knows what next year. I mean, the Cavs have a prime opportunity if they're ever going to be ready. Obviously, the Pacers might not be like without Halliburton in the mix, but I mean, I feel like the Knicks. I think we talked about this. The Knicks, like they have a good kind of core, and they just got their coach Mike Brown from Sacramento.
If there was ever a year the Knicks were going to break through, it's
got to be. It's got to be this one because I mean, all of the big players in the East are not where they really are, supposed to be. And on top of that, the Knicks are they're building their own kind of culture too. Like they have, I mean, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, obviously former net there. I mean, the four Ninja Turtles, as I like to call them. I mean, when Bridges, Brunson, Towns, and Anunoby were all playing, like they looked unstoppable. And then on top of that, they have like Mitchell Robinson. They have other guys on their team who could contribute. They're building like a nice synergy. Yeah.
But remember this. You talked about the Knicks culture. The Knicks culture is firing your head coach after he takes you the farthest in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the part that
25 years.
That's unfortunate. I know, like he was the one who really put this culture together with these guys playing. I mean, like
that's Nick culture, baby.
Yeah, they just fired their culture, so we might have to throw some of that out the window. But I mean, I feel like Mike Brown, he's an accomplished coach in the NBA. Like I think he was coach of the year of the Cavs way back with the Kings. He's taken them to the playoffs. So, I guess one of the big complaints with Thibodeau was his rotations and not playing the bench enough.
So at a certain point, that shouldn't matter, though.
Yeah, I mean, when the starters were playing so good, like I don't know, you know what I mean? Like
it's a weak excuse. It's so weak.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's not like the Knicks were really like doing bad because of it either. Like they're still pretty fine. I feel like if they didn't run into the Pacers, like a lot of years, they could have probably made it to the finals. So anyway, I mean, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, in terms of like their players, in terms of Anunoby, Bridges, Brunson, Towns, Robinson, I mean, I feel like, their starting five's very good. I mean, they have some depth on the bench that I think could be utilized a little bit more as well. So, I mean, I think all of that, I think all of that will go a long way because I feel like a lot of these other teams, they just don't really have what like the Pacers had last year, but the Knicks pretty much had something similar to it, which is why they were kind of where they were last year, and I think they're ready to take the next step. Cleveland Cavaliers, like maybe not. Like I don't know, jury's still out. The Sixers, if everybody's healthy, this could be an interesting team because I mean, Paul George, Joel Embiid, again, like the East is wide open, like they could be a threat potentially, but a lot has to come together. And they added VJ come in the draft. I mean, the Bucks, if Myles Turner and Giannis pair up nicely, I just don't feel like they have enough around them to really like compete. But I would say those are still probably going to be my top four. But some teams that could definitely be in the mix. The Magic are building something with the Desmond Bain trade. The Pistons are building something really interesting. I mean, they like also are starting to build a culture, and they pushed the next to 6 games. I mean, they're only going to get better. The Hawks, I think that's a team to watch out for with Porzingis, Trae Young, like all their guys. In Atlanta, I think that's going to be an interesting adding Nikhil Alexander-Walker on that team. I mean, they could be, in a weak East, like any of these teams could be, playoff teams. They can make a run at it. But I would still say, like, I mean, even the Celtics and the Pacers potentially, but they'll probably be on the lower end. But I mean, I would say, in terms of contenders, I mean, it's really the next year to lose. But at the same time, like, the Cavs, the Sixers, and the Bucks are teams I would probably watch out for in terms of their talent, to really like compete with the Knicks, I guess, at the top. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's what we're kind of heading towards because those are the teams that are probably going to be the most healthy and have the most talent. I don't know. What do you think about how the East could look next year?
Like I said, it's the Knicks to lose. Really, it really is. Or maybe the Cavs finally
Pull it together in the playoffs, I guess.
finally make the move to the playoffs. Finally,
Yeah, they
where
have
they
Donovan
can.
Mitchell, they have like Evan Mobley, they have Darius Garland, they have a lot of talent too, but they just for whatever reason haven't. They had a stellar regular season last season. They were the second best team in the league. They had 64 wins, only behind the Thunder 68. But the Thunder were able to go all the way and win the championship, and the Cavs fizzled out in the second round to the Pacers. So it just seemed like the lights were a little too bright, I guess, in that moment. Which again, why like team culture is such a big, important component with all of this as well, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah, maybe I mean, if there's ever a year for it, I mean, this would be a good year for the Cavs to make a run. I would trust the Knicks and the Cavs. I mean, the Sixers and the Bucks. There's just like too many. There's too much uncertainty around those two teams where I could really take them on the same level in terms of both like what I mean, mixing in players, injuries, bad luck. I mean, it just feels like they're just not really, even though the talent might kind of be there in a way, like I just feel like there's like a lot there's a lot to be desired on those two teams right now. If Damian Lillard was on Milwaukee, I would think differently, but it just feels like too much has to go right, where like I feel like what the Knicks are kind of building and what the Cavs kind of have is like a step above. So that's why those two are like probably the favorites in the East. But Sixers and Bucks, I mean, could potentially make a run at it. I mean, we could see teams like the Magic, the Pistons, and the Hawks like kind of make their way into the higher end of the East as well. I feel like for the first time in a long time, so that could also be really interesting. But yeah, East is just about as wide open for the Knicks. And in general, I mean, as I think I've like ever really seen it. I mean, it feels like all the power players like are kind of going through something or another, including like the Celtics and a lot of these teams are facing injuries. So whoever really wants it, I mean, I feel like the Knicks are the closest to a contender right now, and maybe the Cavs. But I mean, it should be an interesting year. It should be an interesting year in the NBA, for sure. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would say.
Yeah, and we're not even done with. I mean, the free agency hasn't even really started yet. It's like officially it's going to start on July 6th. So who knows what else could happen between now and then? I mean, summer league is going to start soon, as we talked about. I'm looking forward to that. But I guess with that being discussed, I mean, we can kind of move on to the final part of this episode, which is kind of just more miscellaneous fun, just vibing topics, because wanted to mix in some non-sports stuff. So we already talked about obviously our journeys in sports careers. We've talked about NBA free agency, but I guess like outside of sports, like what are some things that you're like interested in and are working on? Like what else yeah, I guess what else are you like interested in besides sports?
Okay, well, it should come as no stranger to you, Arnav, that I am a huge nerd outside of the sporting world. For my temporary day job, where I'm trying to quit, but I still work there. I
Right.
work at a GameStop. At I work at a GameStop. Um, I like a lot of the things that come with that. I'm a huge card collector. I love like anime, manga, stuff like that. Um, Play video games, and it's even better when those interests mix. Sports cards and college football 25. Two
Yeah,
of like
like
the
video games.
That's
Yeah,
the joining of two worlds right there. That's like
exactly.
holy crap, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But that's definitely like a lot of my bigger interests. I'm definitely a collector. I have a ton of action figures. I have a ton of different like sports cards, trading cards, stuff like that. I have a ton of like statues in that sense too. Jerseys. I
Right.
have a lot of
Yeah.
those too.
Jersey
I even
collection.
have some like old like war memorabilia too. I love to collect all these different things.
For sure, yeah. Collecting is fun. Yeah, I mean, I like video games too. Like I used to be really into like like the Mario Kart stuff, like Brawl, like anything like Nintendo related. But more recently, like the college football like video game, like 2K, like those are like always fun. Like I like playing Madden.
I can't
Even on
get
my
off college
phone.
football 25. The only thing
Yeah,
that's going to get me off college football 25 is college football 26.
yeah, exactly. I can't wait for that. I guess yeah. I mean, other than that, like what I guess what are your favorite like TV shows or like movies, like things like that that you like watching or like and in terms of like music, like what kind of music do you like prefer to listen to?
Well, as I just as I just mentioned, I'm a huge geek for anime. I'm a huge nerd. My favorite anime of all time is Dragon Ball. Very popular. People call it the king of anime. Um, TV shows. One I One that I keep going back to, and funny enough, is Young Sheldon.
Oh, Young Shot, yeah, that one's very good, yeah.
That one is so funny to me. I get it in my reels all the time, and it always makes
Boring.
me laugh. Um, and then you have the classics like Breaking Bad, The Sopranos.
Right.
You know, Sopranos is another one I keep going back to, just because the sheer rewatchability of it. Um, you asked about music. See, I have a music taste that kind of bounces all up and down the board. Although I definitely have a niche like in the metal scene, I would say. I got to see Avenged Sevenfold live. I got to see Metallica live. Those were
Ooh, that
great
sounds really
concerts.
cool.
I got to see a band called Sabaton, which is from Sweden. I got to see them live. Definitely are into the metal niche, although I really, there I got rap on my playlist. I have country. I have techno at some points. I have everything that you could really think of on the spectrum, but I would say geared towards the metal vibe.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Like a lot of rock and roll, heavy metal type stuff. Yeah, I mean, especially with like kind of the Rutgers, like the stuff they play at college football games, especially like, like a lot of AC/DC,
It all
Metallica.
goes hand in
It
hand. It all
does,
goes
right? Like
back to
I
each
mean,
other.
that kind of stuff's gotten me more into stuff like that. I mean, like, like they play a lot of yeah, like, I mean, like, like all the songs they play at the like Back in Black and like the bells what that they're down like whatever that song. I mean, those are all like
To
stuff like that.
whom the bell
Yeah,
tolls.
whom the bell tolls. Yeah, or for those about to rock. Even like Virginia Tech, like I mean, Enter Sandman's just like it's a classic. Like
Oh,
stuff like that. Like it just gets everyone going. So I definitely have acquired some of that taste. I mean, yeah, it's always like it's always fun and it definitely gets everyone stirred into a good frenzied mode. So it's definitely it definitely gets the
It
crowd
gets
going.
people alive. It makes them
It's
gets them fired up.
yeah, exactly. That's what it really does. But I mean, I like rap music a lot. Like whatever is kind of on Spotify, like especially when I'm in the gym or like even when I'm driving, I like listening to a lot of that. I guess when I was on my whole like New York kick, I started listening to like some New York like centric rap. But I just like whatever is going on. I guess pop too. Like I like kind of like songs on the radio. So I guess I kind of have more of a mainstream taste. But I mean, I always like listening to different things, mixing it around. So yeah, I mean, it depends how I'm feeling. Also on the radio, so like as a sports fan, like sometimes I listen to sports talk, whether it's the fan or the Rutgers
Yeah,
radio.
well,
I usually
that
part
I would
into
say
that.
goes without
Yeah.
saying. I mean, 90 like consuming so much like Rutgers sports content when I'm not even when I'm not quote unquote working
Yeah,
or
I mean
quote
that kind
unquote
of does go
writing.
in all the different media things that like all those podcasts and this and that and the radio and the fan and like ESPN radio I still listen to a lot. So like those things too. But sometimes it's also nice to just turn that off for a little bit and just listen to music because sometimes like like sometimes I just need to take a break and like if it's just like in the car or whatnot. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends, I guess. Because you know what I mean. Like I feel like I'm always consuming sports, and sometimes I'm just like I need to like get away from this a little
You
bit.
got to give your mind a mental break sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it can be like overwhelming too because like you're always checking the latest and it's always like doom and gloom in New York for some reason too, which doesn't help. It's never like fun. So like,
It's true.
yeah, sometimes especially like when you listen to like the professional stations, like it's just like like it's like how much more of that can you really get? Like sometimes you need a break. Sometimes it's good. I still probably prefer a lot of that compared to like the what goes on ESPN where they're just screaming at each other because and like they talk about like the same three topics like LeBron James, the Cowboys, and like I mean like who wants to like
SEC, the SEC. That's
oh
all they
my
ever
god
talk about.
the SEC like like yeah like have you
ESPN
ever
is
listened to like Paul Feinbaum's show like oh my god like it's just like horrific but it's crazy.
ESPN is the biggest like SEC.
Yeah, well they have the SEC network so
All SEC fans though, they think
yeah, they think they run the world, but I'm glad the Big Ten like kind of showed them up. Like as much as maybe I didn't really like Michigan, like and then Ohio State too. Like but them coming back and winning the championships, like they really kind of brought because the Big Ten East in particular is such a hard division, and like now like people can really respect it the way that they should, like because I mean like nobody really knows what it's like to have to play Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan the same year, and people just be like, "Oh, well, that's not playing Alabama and Georgia." Well, actually, it is. So, like, you know what I mean? It is kind of like that. It might even
and
be
then you
harder.
got to think about it, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, right? And then you got to remember that even Michigan State made their way to the college football playoff one year and made the Big Ten championship twice. They were
True.
no slouch either.
Exactly. Yeah. People like kind of forget and they just like underestimate Rutgers, but also like the whole conference, even some of the best teams, like they say, oh, it's still not as good as the SEC. Well, I'm so glad we like they proved it wrong, and it gives the whole conference a good rap now. And obviously, Indiana's huge turnaround was like such a big story last year. That was really fun to see as someone who loves the underdog and everything. And
I
yeah,
would
I
love
mean,
to see the Big Ten go back into the college football playoff and punch them in the mouth one more time.
yeah, definitely that. Yeah.
Or maybe like punch them in the mouth for like 3 years in a row to people who are like, okay, this is the best conference.
Yeah, I mean, we already have two. I guess, yeah. I mean, I've been hearing like a lot of people this year like really high on Penn State because they're bringing a lot of talent back.
Well, I don't know if I could stomach a Penn State natty. That might make me want to puke.
Yeah, I was about to say because apparently, like I guess with Michigan, Ohio State both returning, they both returned a lot of talent. I mean, this year a little bit different with the quarterback situation. Like with Penn State, they're bringing in a lot of like, actually decent receivers for once, and then they're bringing back Aller, yeah, with the portal and Singleton.
No, I find that funny. Actually, decent
I mean,
receivers.
like they're receiving for the amount of talent they have on their team. They're receiving core is like so weak, where it's like a struggle for them. Like in maybe this year they won't have that, but I mean, because everywhere else, like you're looking, the O-line defense is ferocious. I mean, the quarterback's good, the running backs are good. Like the receiving is really what's been holding this team up. But I don't know. I still feel like I have to. It's kind of like a believe it when I see it type thing with the Nittany Lions, and like I just have a hard time like what they still might lose to Ohio State, and Ohio State's still going to be very talented. Like some of these other teams, like it's just like it never really. I mean, this year they have Oregon, the whiteout, but I don't know. Like I feel like it's a believe it when I see it, because even last year they lost to Notre Dame, but this year they're also bringing in Jim Knowles from Ohio State on defense. I feel like if there's ever a year for that, it might be this one. Another team people are really high on that I trust even less is Clemson, because the ACC is just like so garbage to the point where Rutgers could probably beat most of that conference. And like, I just don't think Clemson could hold up with like the big boys, like even less than like Penn State. I could still see them kind of hanging in there, but like, being competitive, maybe being able to pull something off. But I just really don't see it with Clemson. Like, I'm sorry. So I don't know. Again, people, it's just a continuity. They're bringing a lot back, but I don't trust the ACC in this puzzle. I don't really trust Penn State a ton either, to be honest with you, but I still kind of trust them more at this point. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, who knows? Ohio State, I mean, the only thing with the quarterback is going to be different. They have a lot of talent. I mean, Texas has Arch Manning. They're going to be very good. I feel like it's an open book this year as to who can win the Natty. It could be like any of those. It could be Penn State, Ohio State. It could be Texas. It could be Georgia. Like, it could be Alabama, maybe. Like, who knows? Like, I feel like it's an open book. Like, I don't really know what the odds are, but I mean, Texas has a really good team, and they have Arch Manning. I feel like they might, have the team that it takes, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. College football's, it's always a fun time, I guess. I don't know what the odds look like for next year, but I would assume those would probably be the top teams on. I'm seeing Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Penn State. I would say those would probably be like the four best teams that I would probably put on that list. In some order, Oregon's probably going to be in there. Alabama, teams like that are probably going to be in there too, like Notre Dame, Clemson, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think those are like the Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Penn State are probably going to be like the four biggest, and maybe even Oregon are probably going to be like the top contenders for the Natty this year in 2025, 2026, I guess, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Alabama. You said Alabama, right?
I mean, they're a little bit lower on the list though. Like, I don't think they're like quite at the level of these top. I don't know what their quarterback situation's looking like. That's like, I think when you're that talented, that really matters a lot.
I think it's probably Texas or Penn State.
Yeah, I think Texas with Arch Manning, I think it's going to be a tough out. So, but
as much as I want to like vomit, like saying like, "Oh, it's going to be Penn State,"
makes me sick. But
I also can't say it's going to be Penn State too, because every time Coach James Franklin gets into a big game, he starts going, "Ooh," and doesn't know what he's doing anymore.
Yeah,
all of a sudden, this great head coach goes up against a top 5 team, and he can't stop a nosebleed.
Chokes, yeah.
His defense can't stop a nosebleed, and his receivers can't catch a cold. So it's like,
yeah, they're very hard to trust. Like that's the thing. Like I don't know. They really should be able to beat like in Ohio State this year, really make a deep run. Maybe even win the thing. But it's just
like it's not even just like, oh, most of the time when they face a top 5 team,
every time.
It's every
single time.
Single time since 2014.
They beat Ohio State like one year in that, and even that was like on a blocked field goal, and it was like during a whiteout game. It was like, yeah,
they
I
played
don't know.
Michigan twice a year. I mean, they played Michigan or Ohio State twice a year for 11 years going, and that they were supposed to be teams that were on the same level as each other, because Penn State was always viewed as like one of the big 3, but Penn State always lost.
They lost to Michigan like every time. Like they used to be like they'd always go 10-2 with like the 2 losses to Ohio State and Michigan. Then I guess they kind of got lucky, and like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, I mean, it's like every year it's like the same script, and as as much as I like making fun of it, like I think I would just hate to be a Penn State fan for that very reason, because like you losing the same big games every year and having to hear that from other people. Like, I mean, like, I'll
I
mock
would
it.
hate if you were a Penn State fan too.
Yeah, I would hate being a Penn State. Like, it's torture. Like, and like Ohio State kind of has a similar problem with Michigan too. But like, it's hard. It's like you're losing to the team that loses to the team that loses the big games. Like, are you serious? Like, I mean, it's just like what are you doing? Like, Ohio State has a weird block too with Michigan. That's also that actually gets even more ridiculous when Michigan like got like the 3 years that they were pretty good. Like, I could kind of understand it, but last year was just it was humiliating losing to that team. Like, what they were like 7-5. They didn't have an offense, and like at least they redeemed themselves. They won the national championship. They steamrolled the playoff, like completely demolished everybody in their path. I mean, Texas was pretty close, I guess I would say. Notre Dame was fake close, but I would still say Texas was the closest team to beating them. Like, but they were able to
Does it
pull through.
really count if Michigan beat you?
Yeah, I mean, that probably is what spurred that run in the playoff. They just got, they that probably got everyone going. Like, we're not gonna lose. But I feel like I don't know. They just overthought it really. Like they
They
were
won
trying
the
to.
Natty and didn't even win the Big Ten.
Yeah, they didn't even make the Big Ten championship because of that loss. It was Penn State and Oregon, and like, yeah, I mean, it's just they tried to prove that they were tough when they really by trying to run the ball into Michigan's D line, which sent 2 tackles to the NFL, and then they had these guys on the edge like Jeremiah Smith,
Yeah, that didn't
a
work.
receiver, and it's just a dumb plan. But anyway, who knows? Eventually they're gonna. Michigan lost to Ohio State for like 10 years, right? So and then they got to win. So Ohio State could stop the bleeding. I mean, Penn State could turn it around, but I don't really trust them to. But it's just frustrating because it's not even just like one team. Like, it's like every time there's like a team of the same stature, like there's like a roadblock. It's like Oregon. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you could kind of predict like their season, like, because like how that's gonna go. Like, even like last year, like they lose to they're higher ranked than Ohio State, they lose. They play Oregon the Big Ten championship game, they lose. They play Notre Dame, another team who struggles with those types of big games too. They lose. It's like they like what the heck? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Remember, Penn State has a very big game at the last game of the season this year.
Rutgers. Yeah.
So, they have like a very, very big game
A very
that
big game that they'll probably choke and lose too, hopefully. But
if they
yeah.
if Rutgers somehow pulls out the
That'd be
victory,
a crazy win.
I will be.
It's going to be a field storming win if that happens.
I will be so ecstatic. I will be so happy.
Yeah.
I might just break out to tears in the middle of that stadium.
Yeah, no, that would be, especially given the way Rutgers fans like feel about Penn State, that would be an emotional victory. But also because, beating a team that's so much. I mean, there's all
That
this
has
talk about.
frowned on us for 26 matchups in a row.
Yeah, it would be really nice to just get one. I mean, there's all this talk about being like in Iowa that like seems to have some sort of edge over Rutgers, but this would be like, that times like 20 because this is
Because they
the
beat
gap
us
is.
like 26 times in a row.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like they're a whole two probably like at least a tier over Iowa, if not more. But like, I mean, with Rutgers, it's in Penn State, it's like completely lopsided. But
But
anyway, I
their
mean,
ownership of us is a lot worse than Iowa's. Because
yeah, that's true. At least Rutgers,
Even Michigan, we pulled off that
we have beaten.
2014 upset.
Yeah, that's true. Penn State, we came close in like I think that year too, but not quite.
But couldn't get it done.
Yeah,
So it's like if we get that,
yeah, it would be
that would
really.
probably be like that's the storming the field moment. It has to be.
Oh, definitely, and yeah,
That's where
I mean,
the goalpost ends up in the Raritan. I'm
yeah.
not saying we are going to get that, but man, what?
Ooh, that'd be nice. I mean, Rutgers has to close the gap, but like I said, I think Penn State's going to be a little bit better than they usually are too this year. Which, as it is, they're usually pretty good. I mean, if they're a little bit better, that could go a long way. Again, like with all these talented teams, like the quarterback situation comes into play. So when you have, Julian Sayin versus Drew Aller, like that, those or Arch Manning versus Julian Sayin, like all those things really do come into play because the talent is like super high on both sides of the ball. So I would think the quarterback thing has an impact, especially if you have a good O-line, you have two good running backs you could trust, and you have like good receivers and a good defense. Like that could go a long way. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about college football, the season. I mean, everything. Like, yeah, Ohio State too. Like, that's another team that's really like kind of owned Rutgers, but we had a halftime lead over them. So, yeah, I mean, that's another team Rutgers has to be able to try to break through at some point. But I feel like with Penn State's almost worse because there's like this kind of fake rivalry with it, and on top of that, like most of the games in the Rutgers Penn State series, Rutgers doesn't even score 10 points. Like, you know what I mean? At least in Ohio State, they find a way to score like more than 10. Like Penn State, like most of the time, they don't typically score 10 points. Or one year they did, and they still lost 55-10. And that's like got to be the worst part, like to be completely honest with you. So hopefully they can get the offense going, especially with the passing game this year. The DT Sheffield, all the transfers. I mean, the defense that Rutgers has this year too, with their like Eric O'Neal, Bradley Weaver, all those guys. Hopefully they can keep it close. But I mean, if you want to if you want more content on how you think the Rutgers season should go, I mean, I have an article for game by game predictions, but you can read that and digest
Nice
that.
plug. Nice
What?
plug.
Yeah, thank you. But I guess just to conclude this episode here, I want to talk about like the stadiums, like because I know me and you were like texting about this. I feel like this would be like good content that kind of brings the episode to a good close. So like, I mean, like you talked about this year, you potentially going to like Georgia, Alabama, and Rutgers, Purdue. So I mean, I guess what stadiums have you been to, like professional college, and like which ones are on your bucket list?
Well, I mean, as much as I hate to say it, Penn State and the whiteout, that's got to
Yeah,
be.
the whiteout's got to be.
Holy crap!
I really want to go this year
awesome.
because they're playing Oregon. Like, it's just, that could be a really fun one. I think Rutgers has a road game that game too, so that would be super, super fun if I could afford it. Yeah, I mean,
Virginia Tech, the Enter Sandman.
yeah, I was lucky to go last year when they played them on the road, so that one too.
No, I want a night game Enter Sandman. I want when the lights are on.
Yeah, didn't really get that. So it wasn't as cool as it would have been at night. It was still pretty cool, I would say. The whole stadium was shaking. I mean, not shaking, but everyone was jumping up and down. And that was an interesting game, too, with the way Rutgers got off to a big lead and kind of silenced them. Then Rutgers kind of messes up their chances, and Virginia Tech storms back and gets the crowd into it, but then Rutgers pulls it out. Definitely a really interesting game. And we were surrounded by like Tech fans, but they were very like hospitable to Rutgers fans, and they were very, the Southern hospitality thing, and it was nice. And I kind of like went into that game. I met one of my friends down there who like writes for sport, like edits for Sports Radio America and stuff like that. And he never went to one, but he's like, if you come, I'll go. And like we had a good time. And I don't know. Yeah, I mean that stadium, but especially for that Enter Sandman, I mean that was a really fun experience, and it was kind of fun, kind of like thinking like, oh, we might have the leg up on this team, and because that kind of helped. But then like we weren't really sure. But then when Rutgers really got ahead, I mean that whole game was a roller coaster. But that stadium is definitely up there with stadiums and traditions in the country. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like cut you off. But like any other good ones, I guess.
Florida, the Swamp.
Yeah,
Alabama,
definitely.
I would say. Texas A&M, Power,
Yeah, coming out to Power is definitely. Florida State, like the Seminole Chop or whatever it's called. Like
I would love to see the Rose Bowl because it's classic.
The Rose Bowl is beautiful. That's definitely the sunset and everything, and it's such a beautiful stadium. If Rutgers ever goes there for the Rose Bowl or something like, or even UCLA, I mean they play there, like yeah.
Washington Stadium. It's right on the river. It's supposed to be beautiful.
Yeah,
people
I heard that too. Yeah. A lot of really good ones. And Big Ten has a lot of tradition too. I mean, like, and they have some of the big
house.
Country, yeah. That one. Big House. You have Ohio Stadium. I mean, that's a big one too. Rutgers this year. Penn State, of course, the whiteout. And even like some of the other ones, like Iowa, the Hawkeye, like the Wave. Yeah, exactly, the Wave. And Wisconsin's Jump Around. Like those are like classics that you really can't miss. You know what I mean? So Big Ten definitely brings a lot of that. I feel like Rutgers really could use some sort of tradition like that potentially. We don't really have like anything super super iconic. Like I mean, the third down chant and all is fun, and the chop and everything. But I feel like Rutgers could use something really like iconic, like similar to these other ones that get everyone going. But I just don't know like what it. Maybe like a really cool walkout or something. Although they have like definitely got something cooking with that, but I don't know what I mean. I feel like I don't know. I mean, I feel like even though it's not really a tradition, like the blackout game is certainly a can't miss. Like that one has everyone excited every year. The way Rutgers does it is certainly something to admire, and it's a really fun game. Like so I feel like that's probably as close as they have right now to like
Yeah.
a big time environment.
The
It's not really
blackout
elite,
becoming a tradition and slowly becoming, as Rutgers gets better,
bringing
because
in more prominent
we
opponents.
know what Rutgers can be. It's the truth. We know what Rutgers fans can be
Right.
because Rutgers fans at the basketball arena can
Oh,
elevate a
the performance.
mid-tier basketball team
Yeah.
into upsetting these ranked opponents at home
The
because
rank
the basketball
creepers.
arena, as many opposing Big Ten players will say, it's hell on earth for other teams to play there.
Yeah, because the
Because
energy
it's
gets trapped
loud.
into there. All that sound just keeps, you know what I mean? Like it's like a
It's
nightmare.
loud. The fans are right on top of you, and the fans are crazy
They are
in
crazy.
the basketball
I
arena.
love going to those games and just screaming my head out because like that really does make a difference. It does, and it's a lot
So
of fun.
we know that the basketball stadium could be a snake pit. Why
Why
can't
can't
the football stadium do that too?
performance? But yeah, I mean, I see. Yeah, you're right. You're right, and
I
and
feel like
also
as this
some passion.
program gets better, we could get ourselves to a position where nobody wants to play us in the blackout.
Ooh.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah, because I feel like the blackout already has the infrastructure. I mean, they're doing really good job with the light show, the fireworks, and it's just a
The
lot of
team
fun
needs to get better.
for the
The team needs
casual
to get
fan
better.
and
That's
the
it.
formal, the in-depth fan alike. And yeah, and now they're starting to bring in, opponents like Washington. I mean, coming cross country to play us. I mean, Iowa, a team that we haven't beaten. They're starting to play it up a little bit now too, where
Yeah.
and same thing with like Oregon and the homecoming, even like the Scarlet Out, like what they did with that, I thought was fantastic. I mean, you already have it as homecoming. Now you're making it a night game. You're giving people time to tailgate. You're making it a Scarlet. You're making sure enough people get into the stadium, and you're really like building the hype towards that game. So even though Rutgers is going to be, a bit of an underdog, I mean, you're really giving them the best chance possible to win that game too. And I think that's also something that goes a long way in terms of could help the team. It could certainly
Definitely.
help the team.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of fun, right? So, I mean, really looking forward to college football season. Of course, I feel like we got a lot of good content in on this episode. Obviously, it's good to talk about the career side of it and where we're heading. Writing, especially for the site on the banks, and everything that comes with that. We talked about free agency, and then we talked about just some college football and just some other stuff that we do outside of sports and around sports, going to different stadiums and whatnot. But I guess this is gonna do it here for this episode of Just Vibing. Enjoy the holiday weekend, for July 4th and everything. And as the new catchphrase goes, the vibes are always high in sports vibe.
See you later, guys.